Hey, everybody. You are listening to the Tiny Little Victories podcast, and I am your host, Jennifer Kite-Powell. I am so excited that you're all listening with us today because today is about music.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And on the show today, we have the one, the only Mike Mantione from the iconic Athens 80s and 90s punk band 5/8.
Office. Is the sun too much? Let's draw the sheets and hold all your calls. What do we have here? All tall and look severe, but procedures are quite clear and recognized. Allow me to be frank, it suits our purposes to see in your honesty. In the scientific world, like medicine, these minds agree. In a theory, do you trust me? Do you love me? All my patients really love me. All my patients really love me. I need you to.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Do you feel your past coming alive? All that sensory experience of that sound, that punk sound from the late 80s and 90s. It's magical for me because I went to the University of Georgia during that time in Athens, and this band was one of the bands that I would just love to watch and see. The energy in that room from Mike and 5/8 was just phenomenal. I mean, there's nothing more magical than seeing music at small clubs. And as Mike says in the show, that changes you. So 5/8 is coming off just a huge, fantastic spring with the debut of their documentary, Weirdo, the story of 5/8, and their first song in 6 years, Take Me to the Skate Park. Have a little listen right now.
Dad, take me to the skate park, take me to the skate park. Dad, I mean it, man, take me to the skate park. Dad, you don't have to drive far to take me to the skate park. Dad, I just want this one time, take me to the skate park. You're always telling me you got too much to do. You're always doing the things you wanna do. You look me in the eyes, I can't believe my eyes. I'm always feeling harassed.
Amazing, right? Fast and furious. So Mike's going to talk a little bit about how this song came about. Obviously, it has something very close to him. So he's going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how the Athens sound has a huge, profound emotional impact on people and how their music is now resonating with both old fans and new fans. He's going to talk about an experience that he had playing Take Me to the Skate Park at South by Southwest last month. Talk a little bit about authenticity and how that leads to healing through his songwriting, how the creative process can be fluid and spontaneous. And Mike says he doesn't have writer's block. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Mike and 5/8 are really prioritize community engagement through music and how that fosters connection and support. So yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of things, the enduring impact of music and the challenges of also maintaining authenticity in a very over commercialized music industry. So sit back, enjoy this show with Mike Mantione of the punk band 5/8. Okay, everybody, I have Mike Mantione with me from the band 5/8. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Jennifer, how are you?
I am so good. I am almost trying to calm myself from like a fangirl thing. So I just want you to know, like, I was in Athens when you guys were in Athens, And that sound that you have is just like, it like runs my life. Like, it doesn't matter where I am. I can hear you guys in my head. And so thank you for coming on the show today.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. I should be thanking you.
No, how about that? Like those memories that those sound creates, right? Like that Athens sound is just so visceral. Like it seeps inside of you and you just can't get rid of it. So, okay, let's just go back. You were at South by Southwest. Let's start backwards.
Okay.
Because what an event for you guys. Like you had the Weirdo, the movie there. You like did like the skate park song, your first song that came out in 6 years. Like what was that like being back in that sort of like spotlight?
Oh, it was really magical for us. You know, we took off and played Birmingham first on the way out, and that was really, it was just wonderful. And we slept in these weird pods at the club that has a super nice place to sleep, the Saturn. And then we went to New Orleans, which is our favorite city in the world.
That city is magic. Like there's some like good energy just in the air. You can grab it.
And we did. We walked around all around downtown and went down to the river, and it was just awesome. The show was great. The documentary was received well, and we did these little questionnaires. So it was a really intimate thing with the fans, and
that's nice.
It just got us really, really excited. And then I even got a run in on the river, and that was fantastic.
God, you were just like floating there. That's so amazing. And what did it feel like to have Weirdo, like the film showing there, the documentary? I mean, are you surprised by the amount of fans that just like are like gaga over you guys? Because it is a bit of a cult, to be honest.
I know what I'm like about my favorite bands, so I'm kind of a fanboy myself. So I mean, if you start talking about, you know, the Idols and the Replacements, and you know, I'm going to be kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, you have to be, because I think that era, those bands to me, like they broke a sound barrier in a way. And either you love them, you love the Ramones, you love 5/8, you love REM, you love, what was the name of that band? Not Widespread Panic. Oh, Husker Du. Like that was the other band. It's like if you love those guys, you're always going to love those guys.
Yeah, and it just brings you back nostalgically. And I think that what's funny about this trip is that we've run into a whole different new set of fans, too, from the single getting released. And just the last show in Austin was funny because there was a bunch of kids that I'd never seen at a 5/8 show before.
What?
Yeah.
Like young kids, like skateboard kids?
Yeah, like young skateboard kids.
Okay, let's talk about that then, because that song, Take Me to the Skate Park, is, fucking fast and furious. Like it is just, do you have a son? Did that come from your kids like nagging you to take them to the skate park?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I was singing sarcastically to him. We got into a bit of an argument, and I just started saying, Dad, you know, and then the next thing I knew, I had a song in my head, and I was like, let's write it together. And he said, no, thank you.
He's like, I'm out, Dad. Like, that's enough for me.
You just get me to the skate park, and that was about all I cared about.
I love that, because if you listen to that song, you're like, this has to be from personal experience, because this sounds like a kid to me.
Yeah, and we all know what that's like. And we all know what it's like to have this dream about what you want for your future and know at the same time that you're not capable of realizing it. And I think there's all sorts of stuff going on in that song. There's the hatred of the dad, there's the divorce, but at the end, you know, because I think they're able to communicate this really intense feelings that go, he's like, you really are cooler than Mom, though.
Yeah, you're cooler than Mom. But you bring me to your point of intense feelings. And I think society really does not want you to have intense feelings.
No.
If you have intense feelings, you're like a weirdo, which we could get into the documentary, which we will, and the song. But one of the things I really love about your lyrics and how you began to create is your past, but also how you're very Bukowski-ish in a way, because he talks about life, like this shit you have to go through in life. And your songs they make you feel not weird. Like, I can't tell you how many times people called me weird in high school. And now I'm like, thanks.
It's a badge of honor now.
You're right. And I mean, like, you've been sort of at the forefront of like making that sort of normal and talking about that. What was that journey for you like? Because I know it hasn't been easy.
I think because of the intense amount of pain from depression, and it sort of sets up sort of desperation. At first, it's just like, you know, the depression was so great that I really I really just didn't want to live, and that was really all I could get out of the situation. And eventually I had to be hospitalized. And through the hospitalization, my parents had to act on my behalf. And it just goes to show you that there's a lot about mental illness. Although we study it and we have science and there's great medications and everything, there's a lot we just don't know.
I agree.
And there's a lot we don't know yet. And so there's a little bit of luck in my story.
Yeah, your mom's pretty badass, though, to be honest, because in the documentary, she was sort of like, no, you're out, And I think you had said, like, if she hadn't done that, if she hadn't been like, no effing way, I might still be there. And I love that line. Modern pharmacology, modern psychology could kill you. Like, it's not the answer to everything.
Yeah, and so there's a whole lot of understanding that, a lot of gratitude at this point, looking back. But also, what it did for me, once I started getting my sea legs and I started writing, it made me look for a community, and that community wound up becoming the Athens music scene. And although there wasn't any bands that were really extremely vocal at that point when we first got there, like Husker Du. I think we took it a step further with songs like Goddamn Paul and songs like Looking Up, where we were really taking a very complex look at a situation that was usually just kept in the dark. You didn't really talk about it.
Yes.
At that point, they really hadn't even developed the kind of pharmacological solutions. In 1987, there just wasn't the host of medicine that has brought, a lot of healing for a lot of folks. It wasn't there, but the community was there, and the bands were super supportive. And I found that by getting honest about it, I mean, maybe I didn't like David Barbie said, I didn't with Barbie said, I didn't really relate to the frat boys, but actually we did, because there was a lot of frat boys who did kind of go, wow, there's something about 5/8 that's different than even, than any band that's out there right now, And later on, I think once Weirdo came out, I think it was really obvious, what we were doing and what was going on. But it's still, it was a real fun community, and I'd still look for that community. Like, I did have everybody singing along at the show, Behead Myself, I want to behead myself. It's like, I just had everybody sing along to that, because I feel like everybody kind of knows what it's like to just want to be like, God, I just want to blow my head off. You know it.
You are right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, this is real stuff that goes on. And when you don't talk about it, when you stay in your own headspace, you think you're the only one. And then you tumble. Like, I've been there. Like, you tumble and you're like, I can't pull myself up. I don't know where the rope is. And then you hear one thing and you're like, you know what? It's not just me. And, I love what you said about Athens. It's a community. Like, that town is special. And 5/8, like, said what was in my head. So I think that's a connection to everybody. Frat boy, goth girl, like, geek, nerd, like, everybody can relate to these feelings.
Yeah. And I think that 5/8 really, as a band, as a whole band, we kind of made our own little community and supported one another, to the point where, I guess during the pandemic, Patrick, the drummer, actually came out with his own podcast called Crash and Ride.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, now it is a long form podcast, 2 hours and such, where
oh my God,
he interviews musicians about mental health issues that they've had. And so he just has these incredible conversations with some of my favorite indie, and not like famous people. It's like the indie rock people like us, like where, maybe we played a couple hundred people, maybe we played 50 people.
Yeah.
But, it's like that kind of thing. And so it's a beautiful way to kind of build community around support and honesty.
I love that. And I love the indie rock, because for me, growing up on indie rock, I grew up in Georgia, growing up going to Athens, that rock is the only rock, in my opinion. Like, people, sorry, I'm just going to say it out loud. I would never go to a Taylor Swift concert. I went to see Squeeze at Madison Square Garden, and there were too many fucking people there, in my opinion. Like, I was down on the front row, went by myself, and I was like, okay, Squeeze, just going to have this like experience with you. But I think, again, it comes back to like the journey that you take and how that journey informs you and shapes you. Because I think do you think that if you hadn't had this break and you hadn't put yourself in that place, you would not have come back out and began writing all this great music for us.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there's a way that the Mike beforehand even understood who he was until that happened. Because I think I was still trying to push the party line. I was still trying to be something that I wasn't. And I think through the depression, on the other end was, awareness. And awareness was healing, quite frankly.
Yeah, it is healing because then you have authenticity, I think, and then you're able to just like become that person and it just everything. Yeah. So what was your favorite part about South by Southwest? Because I mean, there was so many good things that were happening to you guys there. And I just wonder how you feel about the reception for Weirdo. Man, Rolling Stone just gave you guys the best write-up I've ever seen of a band.
Yeah, that was great. I think that my favorite point of the weekend was at the documentary screening. I ran into my old friend Chris Bilheimer. He's in the movie, and Chris was a big part of the early beginnings of 5/8 and also had his own struggles with mental health. And we were brothers in arms, and he was the artist that drew a lot of the pictures that, and he made our first video for this song called The Only One, which he loved. And, so there was this camaraderie, and, we got to catch up for about 45 minutes, and then we did the Q&A, and I got to bring up about a bunch of stuff about Chris that ordinarily doesn't get shared, and it wasn't even in the movie, and it was just so it was really, that was one of my favorite special moments of the whole South by Southwest. And also, I think the second to the last showing we had was in about 100 degrees in this outdoor place. It was just really, really fun. It was really fun. That show was...
I think South by Southwest really has a great way, a vibe of knowing what to put where, but also bringing, like you said, everybody together. I mean, did you think you'd have 15-year-old skateboarders at that show that night? Probably not. I mean, the music's just like, it's iconic. Like, it doesn't change. Like, have you noticed that your fan base is shifting younger, or people like us old guys, like, coming back out?
It's funny. I was talking to Fred LeBlanc, who plays in the band Cowboy Mouth, as I was coming out to South by Southwest. And we're friends, and he almost produced one of our records, and he's just a big super fan. We love him, and he was very instrumental in Sean joining the band. It's a great story about that. And we had opened for them one time at Jazz Fest, and it was just Tipitina's completely packed out at New Orleans. And we brought Sean up, and after the show, he came up to me and he said, "You have a new guitar player." And I was like, "Okay, great." I was like, "That's awesome. Thanks, Fred." Anyway, he was talking about how you have to reinvent yourself every 5 years because people change and they go and they come and it's true to a certain extent. And I found that to be true in the sense that we put out a record every 5 years, approximately. We'll put out a new record. It takes me that long to make them now because I don't do music full time anymore. I'm working full time.
Because we have to be grown-ups. Yeah.
Right. I don't want to rush it. Yeah. And so there is a kind of like, new stuff. But what I have found is for some reason, this type of rock and roll never seems to get old. My son's playing it. My daughter plays it. Their friends have bands. We're doing the camped amp thing where we're having kid bands come into Nucci space. And so there's this passion for live music that isn't electronic, where you play for like 60 people and you're all packed in the front of the stage like you talked about with Taylor Swift. It's like the difference between seeing Springsteen at the Enorma Dome or like accidentally getting to see him off Broadway when he's doing that Springsteen Broadway thing.
Exactly.
When you're like less than 1,500 people, it's a whole different, it's just an incredibly different environment.
Yeah, I mean, New Order's still on tour. Like, I've seen them like tons of times in teeny tiny little spaces.
Wife. I got to get my wife out to that show.
God. Yeah, okay, yeah. I will tell her. Keep it a secret from the wife. And like, I followed Depeche Mode around for a while, and they were playing in really small spaces. And I was...
so great.
You know what? Right back to Athens. My head goes right back to the Golden Palominos, back to the Pylons.
Oh, yes. You saw that show?
Yes, I did.
Oh, that's such a great show. Oh, my God.
I lived in Europe for a while. When I was young, right out of Athens, had a thing at Cortona, and they were touring in Milan. And we got a bunch of us like crazy artists and photographers. And we like took the train. We had no money. And we took the train up there. We had no place to stay. And we were like, Golden Palominos. You know, they were all Athens people like stuck over there in Italy. And you talk about a community. You talk about that music, your kids play in the music. This genre doesn't age to me. Like it just doesn't age. That's you.
Yeah. There's bands that are brand new that are coming out right now that have that sound.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Dan got kidnapped by Josh Robertson, who's our old friend. And he did a lot of band managing. He band managed Bedhead. He was friends with the Toadies, and the Toadies are a killer band.
Yes.
And so he grabbed us one night after the premiere of the documentary. He grabbed us and he said, "Come on, we're going out to a real club." And he met us at the Fiesta in Austin, which is the grocery store. And he took us in his really crappy Volkswagen car and drove us over to the Carousel, which is this crazy club in Austin that's straight punk rock. And wouldn't you know it, the Ugly Beats Kids band was playing.
What?
And they're playing stuff, and they're like 16 years old playing at this bar, and me and Dan are like, oh my God. And these Ugly Beat Kids are playing what sounded like 5/8 songs. And he's like, "See, what did I tell you?" He's like, "That's a 5/8 song. That's Missing Link. Listen to it, Mike. These kids are doing your shit."
Well, I mean, you were blown away by that?
It was so great. That's South by Southwest for you.
Yeah, exactly. And also I think that is exactly like something that will live on forever. Like it just keeps like passing on. That's 5/8. That's you. And I love something that Bill Berry said. I'm definitely going to look at my notes here because you did another song with Bad Ends, right? This song called All Your Friends Are Dying. And Mike, I'm of the age where, all your friends are sort of dying.
They are.
It's like, how is he doing this? Like that sound in that song with that group of people with Jeff and Bad Ends was just like, I thought I was 19 again.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wanted to be 19 again.
Yeah, that's a magical band. Actually, going into the studio, I was supposed to be in the studio today, but I just didn't have time. But yeah, we're on the 16th of April. I'll be finishing up the new record.
With Bad Ends.
Yeah, the Bad Ends. Yeah, we're working with Hop from the Zach Brown Band. He's producing it.
Oh, yeah.
He's just right down over here, about 20 minutes from my house in Atlanta. And
I love that. I love that. And I think Bill Berry said that he felt like this was still like you, like it was this song. It was still just like a solo song because it said it really should just be called Mike's Music. which I loved because do you actually know how like foundational you are and the band is? Like you guys are like, no, think about it. Like that sound okay, sure, REM, whatever. I mean, personally, I like them better when they like had like 50 people at their shows. Like when you'd lose shoes, at the 40 watt coming out. But I think like you guys retained the heart of that sound, of that movement in a way. And do you think you've changed far from that? Or do you think you're still the same person?
I think like there's change, but there's, personality is kind of funny. What is it? I mean, what really is personality? I know for me, I have I am, and I just kind of exist, and I do the music that I want to do. And so I don't have to worry about it. I don't really get writer's block for some reason. I just write. It
just comes out.
Well, I just see things, and I think if there's a sort of an awareness, and then that turns into the song. It's like you can lift stuff from anywhere.
Yeah.
And it just kind of filters in, like a conversation you'll have, and then, the line you just said is a perfect example of what will make a great song. You said, I remember when I saw REM and there's 50 people there. It's like when you would go out to see a band and you'd lose your shoes. Yeah, that line to me is like, that's what makes a good song. Bukowski was great at that because he was a conversationalist, right? He would take the conversation and move it. The Strokes are brilliant at that because they'll take the conversation and move it into the song. You hear the conversation that you're having, and that's really fun.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that.
That's exactly what you do. You're the same, like talking about all your friends are dying. Let me tell you, like that's something that is a conversation that you can have with other people or you don't want to have.
That's right.
You've said this, staying true to yourself is actually really hard, which I think it back to this conversation of you just feeling things and seeing things and turning them into lyrics, because that's what Bukowski did. Like, it was his life, if he had talked about gambling or those hot redheads he was going out with, like, it was still just the way of being, which is really what we all forget to do, is just be.
Yeah.
I'm jealous you don't get writer's block, so it's pretty cool.
I did at one point have a pretty rough writer's block after the second record, before we made Weirdo and through Gasolina. I really I got in my own head, sort of in an erotic way, because we got so popular.
Yeah.
We were selling out the Point 2 nights in a row. We'd sell at the 40 Watt. And I started, believing the hype. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Yeah.
It just became really it was neurosis. It was straight up neurosis, stuck in your head kind of a vibe. I forgot what was, just what was happening. And I got stuck with that, and it became you hear all those voices, oh, your first record's always your best record, all this stuff. Like, are you crazy? Are you going to have that intense show? All this worry and confusion. And it really became a problem.
Yeah.
And then when the band broke up, and this is always great, through the pain of having the band sort of fall apart on us, came a lot of the power of the Good Nurse. The band hadn't even broken up yet, but the frustration from Weirdo to Gasolina and creating Gasolina, all of a sudden I just exploded with the Good Nurse, and it was like all this stuff started coming out. And then after that, I really never went back. I just kind of stayed in that. And I think it also helps not being too popular, not believing your own press.
Yeah.
Not getting tied up in trying to make art into a commodity. These things are super helpful.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. Preach on that. I think you have to go through whatever. The Buddhists have that philosophy, is like, you have to go through something. You can't go around it. You got to go through it.
Right.
And that's the only other way to come out of the other side. And not to keep talking about Bukowski, but he had a whole series of essays I guess he had done with like people from the 70s and 80s in LA, all these magazines that are gone. Everyone was asking, like, how do you feel about Faulkner? How do you feel about like all these authors? And he was like, I don't fucking read them because they're boring, he says. You're really preaching the truth here, because commercial music to me is so dull and so boring. I don't hear anything in it. And what I hear is life in your lyrics and 5/8's lyrics. I hear the struggle, the balance, the ability to be like, okay, you know what? We're just going to like go. This is life. Happy, sad, low, high. It's what it is.
Yeah. I like all sorts of music, and the best of any genre I usually love. So a lot of times I'll listen to I'll even listen to Taylor Swift. But I do know that seeing music in small clubs has a way of really it changes you. My favorite shows are usually the small club shows. Like, I saw the Idols a few months ago with my son. He didn't really listen to them that much. He knew a couple of their songs. But when he saw them, it was like, oh my God, because you're in the pit. It's a tabernacle. There can't be more than 1,200 people in the club. Or like seeing Jason Isbell at the New Georgia Theater with 1,200 people. It's just incredible. It's just absolutely incredible.
That's an experience.
Yeah. And it can be really, I think, life altering. And so, I think that's what appeals to me. And so I try to do that. I try and create that.
Yeah. I think that there's not many bands that still try to do that. Like, I always look for them, like bands like this, like, where are they going to be? Where's the small club going to be? Because it does take you back to something that changed you, something that affected you. That's what's so special about, bands like you and what you guys have created.
That's sweet.
So talk to me a little bit, and then I know you don't have a lot of time left, but are you guys playing at the 40 Watt in April? Because I hear you are. Yes.
We are. We're doing a show with the Groks. We're opening for the Groks on the 18th. And we're also on the 19th, right after that, it's the Groks CD release party. A good friend of mine, Steve Phillips, his band, they're just great. They got a new little EP out. It's going to be awesome. And then between us and them is the She He He. And that's a freaking awesome punk rock, intense band of girls that just kill. They just kill. And so it's a really fun bill. And then the next morning, we're going to be out at the 20th anniversary of SPOA, which is Skate Park of Athens. And it's a kind of a national event where a bunch of skater bands are going to be playing, and there's a bunch of sponsors, and we're raising money and awareness for SPOA, the Skate Park of Athens.
Okay.
That's going to be really fun, and we're looking forward to it. Those are the next couple of shows that we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. And I guess you're going to play skate park at that event, right?
Oh, yeah. We play skate park every time we play lately. It's the new single.
Yeah, that song is just like so addictive. I love that.
Thank you.
Believe it or not, I'm actually going to try to road trip it over to Athens to get there in time. I have a friend from Athens. We all went to college together. And I said, did you know 5/8's playing at the 40 Watt? And he goes, no, do you want to come over and we can go up there? So there may be a bunch of like people like me and all my buddies I'm trying to round up. And they're like, wait, we're old. We can't go take a road trip to Athens. I'm like, sure you can.
No, hell yeah, you can.
Why not? Get in your car. Let's go.
All my buddies from Atlanta coming in to see us. That's right. That's what you got to do.
Oh, they're coming in? I love it.
I got some people, yeah.
Okay. So, Mike, let's get to plugging some stuff because you guys are really busy and you've got some cool things coming up. So let us have it. Let's go.
So right now, the way it stands, on the 11th of April, we play with the Steeple People, and that's the Bad Ends and 5/8. That's at the 40 Watt. And that's going to be the Bad Ends doing a little bit of acoustic stuff, and then 5/8 throwing some rock around at the end of the evening.
Throwing some rock around.
We might even get everybody up there for a big art rock number at the end. So that'll be fun. That's all the drummers in Athens that you can fit in one room. Every drummer you can.
All the drummers.
Yes, it's a benefit for Project Safe, which is really a great benefit.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's spring break, so you don't have to worry about fighting the crowds. Then you've got the next week, we're playing the 40 Watt again. We're opening for our good friends who are coming out with their new EP, The Groks. And that's Steve Phillips and his band, and they just kill. And he will be up, and us will start the night off at the 40 Watt. The next morning, we're just going to run right over to SPOA, which is better known as Skate Park of Athens.
Okay.
On the east side of town. We'll be playing right at the skate park with a whole bunch of bands. There's going to be food trucks and a bunch of fun stuff.
This sounds perfect.
And it's raising money for SPOA. I think there's going to be a new street feature put into the skate park, and that's what they're doing.
Really?
It's really great. Yeah.
I love that.
That's Athens Skate Park Project is putting that on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think Tony Hawk himself, went on Reddit last week and plug that bad boy. You better believe it.
Okay. Well, we're going to double plug for you, and then we'll go grab the Reddit feed. We'll put all of this in the show notes. Now, come on. We have one more thing to plug, don't we, in June?
That's right. In June, there's Athfest. And Athfest is when every Athens band plays, plus a bunch of bands from out of town. And you can run around and get a wristband and see a bunch of bands.
Okay.
And you can also throw a little bit of money on the ground and see the documentary. If you haven't seen it, and you want to come to Athens, this is the time to do it. We're going to be playing it at Cine in the theater. It'll be playing all weekend long, but Thursday night, we're going to do a one-night performance right after the show. There'll be a 30-minute break between you get your beer, maybe get 2 beers. All right, 3. Maybe you're pounding.
And
I don't know.
Peanuts.
Yeah. If you're like me, you're just going to have a cup of coffee, maybe 4. Then you're going to jump up on stage and rock at the Lab. And so that's going to kick off the whole Athfest. That's the kickoff party. And I think the Bad Ends are also playing.
What?
Yes, we're playing. And I think we're playing the Georgia Theater with none other than the elusive, hardly ever plays anymore, Modern Skirts.
What?
But you didn't hear that from me. Yes, I'm telling you.
No. Yeah, we did. We heard it right here on the podcast. So it's a real thing. Oh, my God.
Yeah, so we'll be busy.
Okay, so that is definitely going to have to be a road trip. And hello, everybody. If you have not seen Weirdo, you need to get your butts to Athens, Georgia for this opening party. And they're going to play at the same time. So this is great. We're going to put all in the show notes. Everyone's going to go. You're going to see all of us there with our coffee or beers and cheering you on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, so much. What a pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure. Totally my pleasure. Thank you.